I think we're live.
It says so.
It's day, I gotta move myself. It's day 3 of Expedition to Soul here at the Sisters Enchanted. And this is an exciting day because we are talking about moon signs, we're talking about entering the cave, and it's even more exciting because
Hi.
Anna's here
That's
joining
me.
us for our live event. Okay, so let's do some housekeeping. Let's recap where we've been, where we're going, what we're doing here. I gotta sit the exact right way because I'm leaning in, so we're both in the camera. And every time if I move, you can't hear me. I know how devastating that would be. I'm just kidding. All right. This is Expedition to Soul. It's our free class here at the Sisters Enchanted. If you're not registered, you can still register. If you're finding this somewhere, it's not too late to join us, that's for sure. And you want to make sure and get in for the free shadow work class that's happening next week. So if you haven't registered for that yet, grab your spot in there. I'm teaching it live 2 different times. Of course, you can watch the replay, but if you show up live, we actually give you a free star magic lesson for showing up live. So
yes,
try to schedule it in to be there live. That's happening next week. If you have, again, just joined us in the last 24 hours, I am Sarah, the founder of the Sisters Enchanted, and we have been bringing classes and community online since 2016 to thousands of people. And we do that through courses, as I said, and through our blog and podcasts and YouTube videos and just all the goodness that we put out there. A little bit of housekeeping for you. If you can't find your daily emails, be sure to check your spam or junk folder in your inbox, and it's typically there. The link for the class videos, each morning the new video is put up, and you can find the link for the class videos, for replays of live videos, for the workbook. It's all on the class page in your email. So you can find it all there. So you want to pull out that email, go find it, go search it out from your junk, dust it off, and click the link in there. And remember, if you need anything at all, you can always email us magic@thesistersenchanted.com, reply to any of our emails, or tag us in the Expedition to Soul Facebook group, and we can help you out that way. Whew. Anna, why don't you tell us in like 30 seconds? Tell us a little bit about you, because if for everybody who doesn't know it, who doesn't know you.
Oh, well then, I don't know. Hi, I'm Anna, co-founder here at the Sisters Enchanted, Sarah's real life sister, and
I'm so excited about all this.
I'm Sarah's real life sister. I'm the co-founder here at the Sisters Enchanted, and I am an astrologer and a tarot reader and a mythology enthusiast and a mom and a kitchen and green witchy lady, and I think that's pretty much me.
Yeah,
anything else good?
Official role here at the Sisters Enchanted is she's a teacher in astrology. She's a teacher in all the programs, and Anna's official title is the Chief Experience Officer. And it is her. She focuses on program delivery.
Yes.
And making sure everything is as best as it can be, as good as it can be.
Yes.
So that's Anna's
main always focus. Working on making that better and better and better and learning more every single day.
Yeah. Always. So you can see Anna on all the places.
Yes.
So far in Expedition to Soul, on day 1, we reclaimed our energy. We have to come up with like a better sitting situation for us in the future.
I'm on a pillow to make me look as tall as Sarah.
I know, because we're not on the same. It's all crazy. Day 1, we reclaimed our energy and we considered our personal pilgrimage. Remember that we did that because our energy attaches to all sorts of things all the time. And it's those energetic attachments that really keep us from hearing what it is we need to know at any point in time. It's like a filter that is that all of our thoughts, our needs, our intuition, everything is going through this filter of energetic attachment. So we want to clear that away so we can really hear ourselves. We do that on day 1. Yesterday, day 2, was my personal favorite, gathering the allies, assembling the allies. And that's really about being your own best friend, the different versions of yourself, the versions that are from the past, the present, and the future versions that don't exist yet because you're creating that right now. So assembling the allies and then taking a declarative action to show I am all in on this, whatever this is. And remember that expedition to soul, it's just that. It's an expedition. You don't do an expedition in 24 hours. It takes time, and there's not a prescriptive end to this adventure that we're on. It will unfold differently for every person. You will learn different things about yourself and be guided to your own next steps after expedition to soul. Now, after we've done all of this, day 3, if we think about our life story, we're all on this journey, right? We've decided we're going to do it. We gathered our allies and ourselves. We said, here's my pack. I'm going for this. And we head out on the trail. And then we hit the dark and scary forest, or like the cave, or whatever it is that we come to that seems insurmountable and might make us turn and go home. And that is your moon sign. That's what we're talking about today, your moon sign. Now, in astrology, you have signs for everything. And for every planet, in every single position, every planet, there's a light and a dark, a shadow and a light to everything. Now, we are on purpose focusing on the shadow aspects of the moon sign today, because that's what we're talking about. It's like coming up against the stuff about yourself that might send you back home, metaphorically speaking. And so we're purposefully focusing on the shadow aspects. There are plenty of light aspects to all of the moon signs also, but that could be like a whole class in and of itself. So today we're focused on the shadow aspects of the moon signs. So as we go through them, and you might be like, oh, this all sounds so negative. Well, it's not negative. I mean, it's shadowy, but that's what we're here to talk about, is the shadow aspects of the moon signs. Anna, do you want to talk a little bit about what a moon plate, like what that is for a person?
Yeah. So in astrology, the moon is kind of your emotional center. It is how you react when you're feeling emotionally fulfilled, how you give and receive emotions, and also how you feel when you are not being emotionally nurtured and you're feeling like kind of backed into a corner. When you're being confronted, you're not getting your emotional needs met. You can react here with your moon sign. And oftentimes our moon signs come through really strong in our day-to-day personality, because we are emotional. And I say the word emotional a lot, probably in this chat. And I don't ever mean emotional in a bad way. To me, everybody has emotionals. We all sometimes wear them on our sleeves. And that's why the moon sign is so important, really, is because a lot of us do react from an emotional place. If we're feeling, defensive or resentful, or we're feeling a lack of being supported, we're responding from an emotional center. And so that is your moon sign. And so it's actually a really big part of your personality. So we're going to talk about that.
Tanya's sharing an Aquarius moon, sun, moon, Mars. Sorry, the screen's a little far away. And suddenly I feel like I need glasses. It says no emotions with laughing faces. I'm an Aquarius moon. Let me tell you, when my emotions flare up, there's some emotions. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Today is an Aries full moon. So any Aries moon folks in the house, happy full moon to all of us, but to you Aries moons in particular. So we've got on our blog and podcast, there's an episode about the Aries full moon and the astrology in the next 2 weeks, as well as a tarot spread or an oracle card spread or journal prompts. You can use them as journal prompts. Yeah. So check that out. I emailed it out yesterday too, so you can look at that for the full moon.
Yes.
All right.
My almost 1-year-old is a first house Aries moon, and he has more than once gotten red and bald fists today, and cried out loud, crying tears of "Mom, come get me."
Poor guy.
Yeah, I know. So I was aware of this today, that I should be conscious of this.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do. I am gonna shift awkwardly to reload our comments over here so we can try to follow them along. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the moon signs and just talk a little bit about the shadow aspects. As we're talking about it, remember that this is a part of the expedition to soul, right? That we're talking about here. So we've, again, just to reiterate what we're doing and why we're doing it, we have reclaimed our energy so we can hear ourselves a little bit better. We maybe thought about a personal pilgrimage, maybe even went on one, so we can get physically clear of everything and understand what this journey is for us. We have realized we need to be our own best friends. We brought in all the versions of ourselves for empowerment and wholeness and oneness, and also declared that we're on this. And then when we get to our shadow selves, our moon sign, that's the stuff that might feel confronting and scary. It's where self-sabotage might happen. When you're really emotional, you might self-sabotage. It's where maybe you just give up and you get frustrated, make excuses, and you just, instead of finishing your adventure, you go back home again because it's all too much. And that's why we're talking about moon signs, and that's why we're talking about the shadow aspects of the moon signs in particular. They do all have that light aspect, but we aren't really addressing that today. We're talking about the shadow aspect. All right, so we're going to run through them. We're going to try to be succinct to just keep us all rolling here. And yeah, in your prompt for today, your worksheet, you do have a prompt that helps you to consider your moon sign, how you react when you're challenged or threatened, what things do you see as shadows, and to kind of help you put this into play for yourself. All right, and you do also have I don't know why these comments aren't refreshing for me. You do have a kind of cheat sheet list also that talks a little bit, gives you a highlight for each sign, so you don't have to like furiously try to write all this down. And of course, you can watch the replay. All right, we're going to start at the top. And it's our full moon. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's our full moon today.
Yes, it is.
So an Aries, the shadow side of an Aries moon,
Anna, is a lot of fire. So a shadowy Aries moon, so an emotional Aries where they're not feeling emotionally nurtured or supportive, might be defensive, might actually start getting like low in patience because their emotions aren't being met. So this can become somebody who becomes emotionally explosive because this is a fire sign. It's a fire element. So when they get upset, it could almost become almost like an outburst. And when it's Aries, it can be a larger than life one, because Aries is almost, Aries, the god of war. It's like it's unharnessed passion forward. So when they're not getting their passions met, their emotions met, they can become defensive or turn quickly and have an explosive reaction and get very agitated and irritated that they're not being supported.
And again, that's an Aries moon in shadow. And that's what we're specifically talking about, in shadow. Not a nurtured moon, a shadowy moon. Right. Yes. And remember that if we say your sign and it doesn't sound like how you think that you are, your birth chart is a whole big puzzle, and there might be other things happening to explain that as well. So that's your Aries. It's that god of war and feeling put upon, feeling backed into a corner, defensive. It might come out like the god of war.
Wanting to defend themselves at all costs.
So you can see, like in something like Expedition to Soul, if a person who has an Aries moon had a brilliant, like this idea, and they're like, I did this visualization yesterday and I saw these versions of myself and I think I need to do this, and then someone they love just puts them down right away, they might go into that god of war mode,
and kind of get angry, be frustrated,
and then rather than moving forward, just
burn out. Think of fire. Think of like when you get just so mad when something's happening that you can't even push forward because you've now just burnt out your adrenals and you're just now exhausted. And you've been defeated. The god of war, Aries, doesn't want to be defeated, but if they can't get themselves in check, then
my husband is an Aries sun, and let me tell you, he does not want to be defeated.
No, but how exhausting is it to fight? To fight and not get anywhere. Exhausting.
True.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our first fire sign, Aries. Next in the zodiac is Taurus, which is an earth sign.
It is. So Taurus is the sign of the bull, and it is an earth sign. And in a shadowy, a shadow sense, a Taurus moon might be somebody who falls to the crutch of surrounding themselves with beautiful objects. So a Taurus moon, when they're not feeling emotionally well or emotionally nourished, they may go out and, buy things that they don't need to make them feel better, to make them feel nurtured. So they'll rely on material gains to make themselves feel better. This is also how they might try to make other people feel better by buying them things. So a Taurus moon on a day where they're not feeling emotionally well may go out and buy takeout that they didn't need because they just bought groceries yesterday and they have a full stock of groceries, but they might go buy takeout and a big bottle of wine and then go buy a fuzzy blanket because they don't have a cozy enough blanket to fulfill their emotional needs. Not one that's aesthetically pleasing enough for their, their bed or their couch, and really surround themselves in things that make them feel value.
Yeah. And I feel like on Expedition to Soul, a Taurus moon that encounters something shadowy on this, like, or, some kind of barrier, might just keep packing their quest pack, like might go buy new things, like, oh well, I'm just not ready, and like that could be a self-sabotage.
I need a new backpack thing. I don't have a backpack to show up to my quest because it's not a nice enough backpack.
And Brittany, I see Brittany here in the comments. Apparently Brittany and I get each other. All right, so that's our Taurus moon. Okay. Kate, why can't I see all of a sudden? I have perfect vision. At least I thought I did until now. Mm-hmm. Next up is Gemini, which is our first air sign. Mm-hmm. So a Gemini moon.
Yes.
Shadowy Gemini moon.
I will add too with real quick to the Taurus moon that because I did see the comment that it comes up that it sounds really cozy, but it can also become indulgent, and that's like where the shadowy side really gets in. It can be like buying too much, spending outside your means, comforting yourself in
or just
ways
never moving forward.
You're
trying to
find you're indulging you're indulging what you're missing instead of trying to fix it. So Gemini after that is an air sign, and when Geminis are not feeling super emotionally nourished, they might become almost catty in their talk and might start to stir the pot with gossip or trying to get people to trip up on their words because they're trying to hear something or they're trying to catch you saying something to make themselves feel better. So Geminis, they want to talk. So they'll talk out problems, and they might even flip-flop and change their emotions a lot because they're trying to get somebody to communicate to them a certain way. So they might talk one way, hoping that they get a certain kind of answer, but then they might switch because they're like trying to catch somebody in something. So they can kind of turn into their language and start being gossipy, catty, quick with their words, and can probably say things and hurt people without thinking because they're just going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, whatever yours is, as we keep moving through them, consider everything we've done on Expedition to Soul so far and how your moon in its shadowy self, I guess, its shadowy embodiment, how that might keep you from doing whatever it is that you are intending to do in life right now or for your future, or how you may or may not be hearing yourself fully as a result. So this is, again, we've come up to that forest. Are we going through it? And to go through it, you got to acknowledge these things.
So like a Gemini might continue to make excuses or say like, well, they did this, and always trying to talk themselves out of something instead of actually finding the evidence, because that's what Geminis need to do. They actually need to do the learning. They have to find the evidence to like make the progress and not just talk about it. They have to make action. They have to take an action.
Yes. All right. Next up is Cancer.
Yes.
That's the moon is at home.
In Cancer, yes.
In Cancer.
It is the sign that the moon likes to kind of hang out with. Cancer moons are typically very nurturing and like to hold space for other people. In a shadowy aspect, a Cancer moon can take on too much of other people's emotions and forget to separate theirs from other people's, and not have good boundaries. And that's when they kind of can drown in emotions and almost become just so overburdened that they can't purge of other people's emotions. And like I said, they can kind of drown in it, and that can become heavy, and it can then stagnate on them. So they have to be able to separate other people's emotions from their own to continue to move forward, because they are empathetic and they want to hold space for other people, and they're gonna, and they just need to figure out a way to not do that. So they can become emotionally stagnant, emotionally damp, like weighed down by other people's emotions, so much so that they can't come out of it, and it can hinder their day-to-day function.
I see in the comments too, Amber Liskey and Christina are both here helping out. And
Yes.
Christina, she's our student success sorceress, but Christina and Amber are also graduates of our astrology program.
Yes.
So if they're helping you out with comments, they're good resources for sure. All right. I see a in there. Yeah, for sure. And remember that even what you're hearing, this can relate to other aspects of, like, I'm a Cancer rising.
Correct.
And so I can also drown in like helping,
Sure.
but in a different way than the moon, where like your moon this is when you're feeling defensive or emotional, right? As opposed to like a different placement with something in Cancer. It's a different aspect of your being. So, All right. So we've done Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Those are the first 4. And we've gone through all of the elements once so far.
Yeah.
So the zodiac signs, they each relate to an element as well. And those are the first of the elements. So the first ride through all the elements.
Yeah.
And we are on to the next portion. So next up, our next fire is Leo.
Yes. So Leo is they need to feel super supported all the time. And when a Leo moon is not feeling emotionally nurtured, then their ego takes a really big hit. And again, ego is one of those words that is used a lot in astrology that has kind of a bad association with it, like negative association. But everybody has an ego, and it's super important. And that's like what your sun in your chart is your ego. And Leo is about the healthy ego. And when it's not feeling seen emotionally, because Leo wants to be seen, they can almost become somebody who's trying too hard to have their ego be seen. And you might get kind of that idea of like big-headedness in a Leo moon that's not nurtured. On the flip side of that too, you can also find somebody who has total lack of confidence because they haven't been seen and don't know how to even show up emotionally because their confidence has been so shaken. So there's kind of like 2 ends to Leo there. It can either be like, why don't you see me? You're supposed to see me, and then try too hard to be seen and overcompensate, and then that person becomes driven by ego. Or it can kind of go the other way, where they don't even know how to show up emotionally because they don't know how to be seen anymore. Yeah.
Leo.
Yeah. It's all about healthy balance of ego with Leo, the fire sign.
All right. Our next one is an earth sign, Virgo.
Yes. So Virgo moon in shadow, when they're not feeling emotionally well, can become really lax and become very disconnected because Virgo thrives on routine and support in their routine and support in like an emotional routine. And if they're not feeling that way, they can become like disconnected from their day-to-day tasks, their needs, and let things pile up, which just hinders them more because they need to be methodical. And a Virgo moon who's not feeling emotionally nourished will forget that they need to be methodical and on top of things to feel emotionally well. And instead they'll let things pile up, which becomes very burdensome to a Virgo in general and a Virgo moon especially.
So again, like a person who is trying to do Expedition to Soul, maybe has like a big aha moment, or maybe it feels like maybe you're like, I can't do this because I'm not being supported in like the space or like everybody else doing the things to help me get this done. So you just don't do it, and then you're angsty and mad at everybody, which happens. Yeah. But that's the point of understanding your shadow self, because when we talked about yesterday being your own greatest ally, assembling the allies, like you've got to look to yourself to create that space. So understanding where your shadow is playing a part in everything is what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is another air, Libra.
Yes. So a Libra moon, when it's in shadow, will feel taken advantage of. And the unfortunate thing about the poor Libra air is that oftentimes it takes a lot of unfairness, a lot of unjustness in an emotional space for them to actually start to feel that. And that's the thing about air signs, that once they do actually feel that imbalance, that lack of mutual reception between them and somebody else. And when we're talking about our moon and emotions, oftentimes it's reflective of a partner, but it could also be, your job can affect your emotions, your friends can affect your emotions, like so many things can affect your emotions. That Libra waits too long to speak up for themselves, so much so that when they do, it's usually unproductive because it becomes that air-like outburst of words that they waited way too long. And then the person that has it coming for them doesn't even know that it was coming because like that conversation was 6 months ago or something and they forgot all about it. So Libra almost has a halt in action because they believe in fairness so much that they forget to check their own scales until they snap.
Oh, snappity snap.
Until they snap. They take a lot, Libras. They take a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is a water sign, Scorpio.
So Scorpio moons is oh man, Scorpio moons.
My son is a Scorpio moon in his 12th house.
Yeah.
Now, if you have no idea what that means, we're going to do, actually, you can go listen to a podcast episode we have. It's about astrology as a pie, I think it's called. Yeah. I don't know.
It's
the
a
birth
really
chart pie.
Podcast.
But you want to listen to that. But your 12th house is like buried deep.
Yeah.
And my little guy is a 12th house Scorpio moon. And let me tell you, the days are long.
Yes. And I am a mom to 2 Scorpio boys. So like I know the Scorpio energy real strong. And a Scorpio rising myself. But a Scorpio moon, that's one of those signs that people are like, oh man, watch out for Scorpios. They'll sting you. Because Scorpios have this general kind of label to them that they sting for no reason, or that they get agitated a little bit and they come out ready to kind of come at you. But really Scorpios, and especially Scorpio moons, their desire to connect with somebody on a level that's beyond emotional, that's beyond connection of the regular, is so needed that when they are not feeling emotionally well or receiving emotions from somebody that they were hoping to receive from, they are so wounded deeply to their core. And that's why they get reactive, because it's almost like somebody turned their back on them, that like promised to always have their back, like signed a contract to have their back. So Scorpios, they're so hurt, they're so wounded, they're gutted so badly that that's when they become vindictive, because now they know all of your information, your secrets, everything that you've ever told the Scorpio moon, they remember, because they believe you told them that in confidentiality, because you guys are getting to know each other. And then as soon as that's shaken in a Scorpio, they are ready to use it against you. And that's when they become kind of vengeful, or have that ability to kind of come back at you with their Scorpio tail. But it's because they're so badly hurt. It's not because they're just shifty or they want to flip on somebody. It's because they're so wounded that they don't know what else to do but wound back. Yeah.
We jokingly call my son little son.
Yeah.
And
little son, big personality.
Yes, he gets so upset so quickly, and I'm like, oh, our little son.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so much. I think Scorpio is one of the most misunderstood signs in the zodiac. Scorpio, I think, Libra, even Virgo are some of the most misunderstood ones. Even Aries, for just different reasons, but Scorpio is one of those ones that, like,
yeah, for
sure.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Next up, so that's the next set of elements. And now we are on to our last 4. We are on the Sagittarius moon.
Sagittarius moon. So a Sagittarius is fire. Sagittarius moons are, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling emotionally well, so I'm a skip town. Yeah. out I go, out skis. Sagittarius is the explorer of the zodiac, and when they are not feeling emotionally well, are supported, or don't feel like they have emotional support in a space or in a room, they are totally leaving. They are the ones that kick the back door at the job on the way out and say, I quit, I'm never coming back. And they get in the car and they drive around for 2 days until they find another job. They are the explorers. They remove themselves from hard situations instead of doing the hard work of talking about them.
Yeah. So this is what makes astrology so interesting, is that I am not a Sagittarius moon, but I have 5 planets in Sagittarius, yes. And I am a Sagittarius to the max. And yes. I do identify with my moon sign very much when I'm feeling defensive. I definitely embody that. And also, because of all my Sagittarius, I will also escape a situation. Yeah. When I'm feeling, it's like my Aquarius moon acts first, and then my next step is to exit, and a flourish of door slams and confetti and, for sure, you know, like the band playing in the background.
Like a domino effect. You can like watch your other signs and other things like snap into gear to kind of like protect you or to not protect you, because sometimes when you're trying to protect yourself and you're getting defensive and you're doing it in a shadowy way that's not productive, then like you can't move forward. And that's what's so important about these things. You know, like a Scorpio, yes, gets wounded, but then needs to learn how to like forgive and move on and not get like stuck in the hole that they've dug now that they're so wounded. Just like the Sagittarius, maybe going to take a rage jog is probably the best thing in the moment so that they're not reactive, but then they got to come back to reality and say like, now we need to talk about it. So like kicking the back door and saying I quit and I'm never coming back is typically not the right thing to do unless you're like in a really bad toxic work environment. I mean, been there, done that. But really asking for a 10-minute break so that you can cool down and then come back and have the conversation is the productive thing to do. Even if it still ends up in you quitting, it's still the right thing to do to like come back and face it. That's what's so important. A rage jog. It's a thing.
I went on a rage hike earlier today.
Sarah did.
I did. I called Anna.
She did.
And Anna was like, well, it sounds like you're doing the right thing by going on a rage hike.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I was true. So
it did sound like that thing.
All right.
So
next up is
Capricorn.
The Capricorn moon.
This is an Earth sign.
Anna's a Capricorn.
I'm a Capricorn moon. Hello, the Capricorn moon in me sees all of you Capricorn moons. So we said earlier, Cancer. The moon really likes being in the sign of Cancer. The moon really does not like being in the sign of Capricorn. It's its least favorite spot to be. And the Capricorn moon is often considered cold and removed and doesn't hold a lot of space for emotions. And that is true. It builds emotional walls and prioritizes getting things done over getting emotional needs met. So a Capricorn moon who's not getting their emotions seen or met, or doesn't know how to open up or how to take down walls, can forget what it's like to be emotionally open, which not only hurts them, but it can oftentimes hurt the people around them. So that is the great challenge. And the shadowy side of a Capricorn is realizing how to take down the bricks of the wall, even if it's just one brick at a time, because eventually you've got to let somebody in. And healthy boundaries are good, but boundaries altogether are not good. And like Sarah was saying earlier, I'm a Virgo myself with a Capricorn moon. And I tell you, if I clean the house and everybody comes home and throws their shoes in the middle of the floor, or like doesn't empty their dishes into the trash, like the food, before putting them in the sink, I will shut down. I will not talk to any of them. And then I won't do the dishes or clean anything for like a week. And it makes everybody's life even harder because I have now shut down, and also my routine and my cleanliness has been broken. And now everybody is like affected because of how badly I handled the situation because I just shut down immediately. So Capricorn moons tend to emotionally close off, and so much so that they can forget how to even be emotionally open to begin with.
Yeah. And it's interesting as you start to get to understand astrology about people, and even start to look at your astrology in relationship to other people's astrology, is that I don't see Anna as a person who does that, like in our relationship.
Right.
And when you look at our astrology together, there's some interesting things happening there. And maybe that's why I don't experience her in that way.
Right.
But Anna, and I think if you ask Anna though, in her romantic relationships or any of, like Anna's husband, I think he would very much be like Anna can close that door faster than I even know there's a door there.
Yeah.
And she'll close it before I even saw it.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too, because I'm also a Scorpio rising. So I get so wounded so easily. But instead of me being sad or feeling that watery emotion that a Scorpio might have, I nip it. The Capricorn moon won't allow that to let somebody see that they've hurt me.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a defense.
Mm-hmm.
I won't allow you to see that you just hurt me.
In the example of Expedition to Soul, if Anna came up with an idea, or Anna maybe experienced something or saw something in her journaling or her tarot card pull or something like that, and maybe she just decided like, oh my goodness, this has been happening and I didn't even notice, but then she doesn't tell the people that it matters because she just shuts down, or maybe she tells them something and then doesn't like how the conversation goes and then just shuts down instead of moving forward and understanding the shadowy aspects of things that are happening.
Oh yeah, I definitely shut down and get like, yeah.
So next up is another air, and that's an Aquarius moon.
Tricky Aquarius.
I'm an Aquarius moon.
Tricky
so
Aquarius.
Is my husband.
Yes. Aquarius. This is probably the trickiest as far as elemental signs, because it's Aquarius. It has aqua in the name. It's the water bearer, and it's an air sign. It is an Aquarius moon when it's not feeling emotionally well, when it's hitting its shadowy aspects, is right at all costs and cannot be wrong.
That's never me.
And that is
always
the hard thing when you're having, emotionally tense conversations, or ones that are supposed to be emotionally like in depth or feeling, that an Aquarius sometimes leaves no room for another opinion, which hurts the emotional growth of the Aquarius. It can hurt the combined growth of a relationship. And again, I use the term relationship loosely. It can be at work, it can be with a significant other, it can be with a sister, a friend, that when an Aquarius is not feeling emotionally well, they're kind of hard-headed and they don't leave space for other people's opinions.
Yeah. And this is a great example of let me just stick on it.
And Sarah is one. And we all, I'm telling you that everybody has a moon sign and somebody else has that moon sign. And like we live them. So like,
oh no, yeah, I'm very much like, no, I'm right in this instance. And then I get very upset.
Yes.
And then that's when my Sagittarius flares up and I have a grand exit.
Or she acts ridiculous because like she knows.
Or then I realize that I was actually wrong, but I won't admit it. So then I just
she starts
behave like a child.
Yes, she does.
But the thing is, but this is why it's just so important, because that's like my magical forest, or like the dark forest, right? And then when I see it happening, I have two choices: to just bury it like it never happened, or own up to it and say, oh my goodness, I did that again. And here we are. I need to apologize. And learning to apologize, actually, this last year, or actually probably like last 2 years, I've been really working heavily on apologizing. Something happened with Anna and I last fall, and I like totally went insane, like in a crazy, like it was a moment. And I remember being in my kitchen, just like tears. And my husband, he's an Aquarius moon also, and he's not super emotional dude, and he could just tell that like it was not the right time to say whatever it was he would normally say. And I had to like take a deep breath and apologize to Anna. And
I was at home like hyperventilate crying, which I like never do. And I was like, I don't know what I did wrong.
And I had to like, I was like, I was so wrong. I must apologize.
And I think we both had like this back and forth of like, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
But this is also why astrology is so interesting. So I mentioned that my husband and I are both Aquarius moons, and he's an Aries sun. I'm a Sagittarius sun. So we both have that sun going on. And I know somebody asked about rising signs, and I think it was answered by one of our teammates, but we'll talk about that at the very end here. But we are opposite risings. I'm a Cancer rising. He's a Capricorn rising, and those are opposite. So he and I both are like very fiery.
Yeah.
We have the same emotional reaction, and we view the world in complete opposite ways.
Yes.
So having said that, I bet you can get a pretty clear picture of how arguments and decisions are made in our house. None of it goes well. But understanding astrology is what helped me to see like, oh my gosh, he's not just this big jerk. He literally views helped me to see that and understand that.
It is really
So.
interesting. And like Sarah was just saying, like I'm a Capricorn moon, so I'm like emotionally sometimes very like closed off. And my husband's a Pisces moon, which is not emotionally closed off. And the amount of kind of navigating that we've had to do to kind of meet each other in the middle of each other's emotional needs is huge. And really, you know, even though I have a tendency to be cold-ish, my emotional needs, that doesn't mean I don't have them. And they're probably just as big as his. Just there's just a different way to navigate them. And we just have, that's the thing. You have to figure out how to make space for somebody else.
Yeah, and I saw the comment scrolled by, so I'm not exactly sure if I'm saying it correctly, but somebody mentioned that they never saw their Capricorn moon and didn't see it as like a problem for them, but maybe with communication. And that's like that shadow and light aspect. My Aquarius moon, while I'm like the one, you know, when I think I'm right, I really think I'm right, especially when I'm feel like I need to be defensive about being right, or I'm like defending somebody else. But that's where though that thing that can be a hindrance can also be a great blessing, because if I really do think that somebody else is getting the short end of the stick, you know, I won't shut up about it. So.
and like Sarah said, I'm not emotionally like closed off entirely, because again, that's like a really shadowy aspect of it. So like I'm probably like in the middle of some sort of middle range Capricorn moon, because I obviously, if somebody has like emotional or needs to talk to me, people call me all the time to talk about things. I am the person people call, but I also very rationally give, you know, thoughts back. I don't usually get like emotionally upset unless it's emotionally charged. But typically, like if Sarah's on a rage walk and she's telling me about what made her rage walk, I usually have very rational things to say to her, because my Capricorn moon is like, well, let's think about this. And I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, well, how can we implement steps to make this not this way? Yeah. But for me, I think my Capricorn moon shines more through, especially in my parenting, because I've got 2 Scorpio sons, and they need a lot of sometimes emotional support and hugs and like love, like physical like hugs and love. And I'm not a physically connecting person. Like Sarah and I just did a podcast earlier, and we were talking about how we tap each other for like we're tappers, we're patters. We don't actually like hug. But sometimes I have to stop and like think. I'm like, oh no, that's a time that like my older son just really needed a hug and I missed it, and I have to like go back and say, hey buddy, do you need a hug right now? Because I missed it in the moment. Not because I don't care, not because I don't want to hug him, but just because like I'm very rationally thinking out what's happening. And I didn't see the emotional cue that somebody needed something from me. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it comes up a lot for me, that like, oh, somebody needed a hug. Somebody needed words of affirmation just then. Somebody needed something from me, and I missed it. And then I'm usually like 5 minutes past.
So we have one more sign. We'll do that. And then I want to just talk quickly about a little more about how like your moon might, a little more about the moon. And then we'll just hit on like what a rising real quick is. So Pisces is the last of the signs.
Yes. So Pisces is the last water sign. And if you think about astrology and how it goes through, Aries, God of War, very independent, very single-sided. And as you go through the signs, they kind of step out of the branch of independence into the world of the collective. And Pisces is the sign of the collective. So a Pisces moon, a Pisces moon wants to be emotionally a part of everybody. They want to connect emotionally to you, and they want to live in the pool of emotions and experience everybody's. And when they are not emotionally well, they can so intertwine themselves in the feelings of other people and the feelings of the collective that they forget that they had an identity to begin with. And Pisces is, especially in the moon sign, especially when it's in shadow and when it's not being nurtured and they start to lose themselves, Pisces is the sign that's most likely to fall onto vices of an unhealthy nature as a crutch to make them feel better, or to grasp back at some sort of reality. But they get very much removed from reality and kind of lose sight of what it is like to be independent and have independent feelings, and how to function and work on your own independent feelings. Because they get lost.
Yeah. I'm a Pisces midheaven, so that's
Yeah.
your career indicator,
Mhm.
which is why I like the collective. Let's bring all the people together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes their emotions become too much, and then they try to find crutches to support their emotions. So they have to find really good ways of being able to express their emotions, get them out healthy, and get back in touch with themselves in the rational world.
Yeah.
The physical world.
Yeah, so one other thing we'll add about moon signs too is these are generalizations,
Yes.
big generalizations
Yes.
that we made. I see some folks talking about understanding birth charts. One of the things we were just discussing, we literally were recording a podcast right before this, was the nuance in astrology. So an example for me, and this is not my moon related, but an example for me is that I have 2 planets in Scorpio in a placement, right? But that house that they're in together is ruled by a different sign, which if you don't know astrology, probably just for like, what is happening? That's why we recorded this podcast. So it's neither here nor there, but that's that nuance that you really get by learning astrology or talking to somebody who knows astrology.
Right.
Because if I just had my chart read by like an online chart generator, it would say like Mars and Pluto and Scorpio, and it would tell me what that is.
Right.
But not the fact that actually though that house is ruled by Libra, which is going to do this, this, and this.
Right.
So the astrology is extremely nuanced. Everything we said here is relevant, but is also, remember, like a broad stroke. And the other thing about moons too, so as we talked about my Aquarius moon and this like needing to be right, my moon, every there's degrees. And so the further along your sign or your planet is in a degree in a sign, kind of the more wise it is, the more it's learned. And my Aquarius is pretty much like at the end of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. So for me now, I do often, it's interesting because the first half of my life, I really was like, would get super bent out of shape if I didn't get what I want. And if somebody like told me I wasn't right. But now my initial reaction is that gut, like I'm not getting what I want and someone's telling me I'm not right. But I don't have the reaction anymore where I'm like, I must be right and I'm going to throw a temper tantrum basically. Right. Now it looks very different but that's because I'm at the end of that sign. So I have that wisdom, and it's that wisdom showing in my life as I'm growing. And so that's another nuance in astrology. If I were a very early on Aquarius moon, I could very well still be having these arguments where I'm constantly needing to be right.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't so much now.
Yeah, back in time to when Sarah and I were teenagers or youths.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. The relationship that we had was like, obviously we were sisters and we cared about each other, but it was like
terrible.
It was terrible. I didn't want to say it. It was horrendous.
No, we didn't get along until I went to college, and
then you decided you missed your dear old little sister back at home.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes for me. I mean, like, you look back at like my life when I was younger and some of the signs and placements that I have, I was quite angry. I caused ruckuses at school. I said not nice things. I got like very angry outbursts. And you can ask Sarah, I don't even know when the last time I've had an angry, because now my emotions are a little bit more in check. I'm a little bit more tactile. I'm able to advocate for myself better than I was when I was younger. And that's because I've learned my life has grown. I learned astrology. I learned why I was volatile. I learned why I was this way. And then that's what shadow work is. And that's why you go into
that's
your cave.
Exactly what shadow work is.
Now it's time to say, okay, I realize that I'm reactive. I realize that I say horrible things. I realize that I act out of the bounds that most people would say are within society's norms. And how can I not behave that way? And how can I make my life better? Or like, how many, why was I this way in relationships or with friends? And how can I make that better? And now when those indicators are starting to happen in my life, I can be like, whoa Nelly, it's time to take a deep breath, see that shadow of myself and sidestep it and say, hey there, Anna, shadow, I don't have time for this. I'm moving forward and not moving backwards. And that's why the cave is so important, because it's about seeing yourself.
Yeah. Your
shadow doesn't go away.
No.
It's always with you. It's acknowledging that it's getting a little too close and deciding to walk in front of it and let it be behind you and not in front of you.
Yeah. So just to round us out real fast, so the 3 heavy hitters in a birth chart, there's all these different things you can look at, but sun, moon, rising is what you're going to hear about the most. It is possible to be the same sign for all 3. It's totally possible. They can all 3 be different. There's no like better or worse. Is it a bad thing? We get that question a lot. No, it's just where the things were when you were born. But the rising sign changes constantly. So that's really reliant on the time you were born. Your moon sign, the moon moves every few days. So if you don't know what time you were born, you could just look at where the moon was the day you were born. And if it didn't move that day, you would know if it did move that day. You'd want to look at both moons. Rising, though, you really do need your time to get that accurate. And then the sun's in the same place for about a month. So that's why you see like horoscopes are written for sun signs.
Right.
But really you want to read a horoscope for your rising sign because of the way that they set everything to write it. And so your rising sign is who you are, how you perceive the world,
and how you're perceived.
And your sun is what you're like,
what you strive to be. It's what creating. Your ego desires for your outcome to be seen as.
Moon is that inner subconscious sort of, where your sun's that outer conscious ego. Your moon is that, which is why it's so shadowy, because when you're in ego and you're like you're awake at the wheel, like you know what you're doing, but when you get emotional and like upset and you're not so awake at the wheel, that's why we talk about the moon signs for shadow day, because that's when that really comes out. But your rising sign actually is really important in your chart. I think that it's probably not so popular to talk about in mainstream. Everyone talks about their sun sign because it does move so fast. And if you don't know your birth time, it's challenging to really dial in on what that would be.
But it is very important to who you are day to day, and how you interact with the world. And it is funny how much things change.
Sets your whole stage.
Yeah, it does. Almost a year ago now, I had my second son, and I was getting told that I was having to be prepped for an emergency C-section. They're like, right now, and I was like, can we wait like 2 hours? And they were like, what? They were like, huh? No, like you have to go now. I was like, yeah, but if you wait 2 hours, he won't be an Aries moon. He'll be a Taurus moon. And I was like, I think I'm more emotionally prepared for a Taurus moon than an Aries moon. But lo and behold, Aries moon. And he's that way for a reason. And I'm the way I am for a reason. And there's a reason why we're together. And that is how he was born. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
So
that's the question we get. And we really should just end this, but we get this question about cesarean sections. And if somebody is induced or has a scheduled delivery, like if that impacts their birth chart at all. And I will say that we were both delivered via C-section, and Anna was a planned C-section, and our mom was induced to have me, and apparently I wouldn't come out, and so there we are. But I mean, like I am my birth chart. You don't look at there's nothing in my birth chart that's like, well, I don't really see that about you. No, it is like a spitting image of me. So, and then I had my first child I tried for a home birth, and after many, many hours and lots of problems, ended up in the hospital, and she was like, taken out so quickly. My uterus tore open and it was a whole ordeal. But when you look at her, like, I think that after all of that time, I mean, she is her birth chart.
Yeah.
So, because like I thought about that too. I was like, well, now that I know things like astrology, like what does this mean? And I asked that same question, which is so strange because I was born via C-section. So for me to be concerned about that was, I don't know. I guess it's different when you're having the kid, right? And so,
my kids both C-sections, both exactly as their chart says.
Yeah, my daughter is very much what her chart is. So that's just the question we get sometimes, and I know it's a question that I had for sure. So let's see here. That the new sign, that's not a thing. The 13th zodiac sign. Yeah, that's not anything to worry about.
Ignore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have twins born less than 1 minute apart. Their personalities are very different. So their rising signs could be. Mm-hmm.
It could be. And also, like Sarah was saying, there are degrees. And sometimes degrees can make different aspects and different things. And also, everybody's an individual. So some aspects of their chart could be a lot. And one of their chart can be, they could be thriving. And a lot of their things can be in light, where the other one has some things in shadow, and vice versa. So one might be really creative and the other one maybe not. But it's just because of how they're nurturing themselves as they grow, and how it just changes, and degrees change, and it could be total polar opposites, even though your charts are similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Lori is asking about premature babies. Yeah, same thing. It's just when they come. It's interesting. My second child, because of what happened with the first, I checked, no hospital within a 90-minute drive would permit me to try a vaginal delivery, and so I was going to have this C-section. And it was scheduled for a week before his due date, and 2 weeks before his due date, I went into labor. My water broke, and he ended up being a Scorpio moon that he is. And he is a Scorpio moon. So it's interesting how that happens, It's so interesting how that happens. But let's see here. And Kathy is sharing that someone asked if I was Sagittarius. I said no, Capricorn. And then if you're Sag rising, your rising sign says a lot about you. I'd really, if you don't know it and you can find it accurately, look at it, and then start looking at, if you're a horoscope person, looking at the horoscopes for your rising sign.
And each zodiac sign has physical characteristic traits, and that's how people can peg you for certain sun, moon, or rising, depending on how strong they're, because there's physical indicators for each zodiac sign.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a Cancer rising, and I am I'm very emotional. I'm very nurturing. I'm always like the person in charge, the mother figure, the leader of pretty much every situation that I'm in, ever. But that said, I have 5 planets in Sagittarius in the 6th house, and that house of service and health, and my Sagittarius is just like, there's just so much of it that for me, it like balances out that rising water. But I am always like, that sets the stage in my life, that rising sign, that Cancer nurturer. And I am very much the person acting as that like mother, leader, nurturer figure in pretty much everything. Like, there's not a role in my life, I think, that I'm not in that capacity. So anyway, all right then. Okay. So I want you to look at the day 3 sheets in the worksheets. And remember, this is your cave. Like you said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm still going to do this. But then, when you feel put upon, you feel like you're back into a corner, you feel defensive, like, what is your shadow self reacting as? What's happening there? And it's important to see that and know that you have these tools. You've assembled your allies, and you can walk through this. You can go out the other side of your shadow self and come out smiling on the other end. But going through it, that's what's important. And you won't go through it if you don't see that it's there. You'll go around it. You'll go backwards, but you got to see it's there. And that's what we did today.
We did.
All right. So the thread for day 3 is up in the group. You can share over there. Remember, we're going to pick prizes. You want to register for the shadow work webinar for next week. The class, we're doing that live. I'm teaching it on Sunday and on Thursday. And if you come live to it, we do give you a free class as a thank you for showing up live, our Star Magic class. You'll get some video and some worksheets, and you get the link to that.
Yes.
As a present, a little prezzies. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And we're off to go. I don't know what we're doing. Going home, I guess.
We're off to see the wizard.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a great day. I got to lean all the way over here to end this. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Anna, for coming.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.